Top 10 reasons China won't be the world's next superpower. Number 10. Pollution. It's no secret that China has a serious pollution problem. Since its rapid industrialization began in the 1950s, China has reached the point where health scientists estimate it claims 1.6 million lives per year. In some of the most heavily polluted areas, simply breathing is equivalent to smoking 40 cigarettes per day. With almost half the entire population living within the major, and often most polluted, metropolitan regions. Number 9. Overpopulation. As of September 2017, the population of China stands at over 1.3 billion people. 3. Although the country is geographically the fourth largest in the world, approximately 20% of the entire global population lives inside its borders. This places an enormous strain on its natural resources, particularly when living standards rise, and thus, demand for resources increases. Number 8. Demographics. China is facing a demographic nightmare. As fertility rates have decreased and after decades of the one-child policy, the country is getting very old very fast. After the one-child policy was officially lifted in 2016, many couples were now found to only want one child or didn't plan to have any at all. According to the United Nations, China may have as much as 44% of its population retired by 2050. Number 7. Wealth distribution. Although China has had very impressive continuous growth for many years now, a significant segment of the population still lives in poverty. 5. Since the early 1980s, millions have seen their standard of living dramatically increase, yet while the economy is growing, there are many millions without electricity or adequate drinking water. It will still require a significant amount of time and investment before China's population as a whole will catch up and be wealthy by the standards of other developed nations. Number 6. Wage increases. While the middle class has exploded in China, the expectations have increased, as more Chinese will expect better pay, which in turn will eventually make their products more expensive for consumers. While countries such as Japan and Korea have still exported an enormous amount of goods as their salaries have increased, the quality of these goods has been high, which, in turn, kept demand high. Although the workshop of the world exports many goods, they are largely inexpensive because of their poor quality. Number 5. Regional tensions. There are several regions, such as Tibet and Hong Kong, within China that are demanding more autonomy, which requires the country to devote a significant amount of resources to ensuring political stability within its borders. 7. Until they can attain a certain level of regional stability as well as control an increasing desire from the general population for more freedom, their foreign ambitions will be hampered. Number 4. Emigration. Unlike the former Soviet Union, if you wish to emigrate from China, you are free to do so. The only issue appears to be related to money. This poses a rather serious problem for China, as a recent report indicated that as many as 50% of the wealthiest Chinese citizens are considering moving out of the country to places such as the US, Australia, and Canada. Number 3. State-owned enterprises. Although private industry has grown considerably, a very sizable portion of the Chinese economy is still owned by the state. Approximately 30% of their total assets, in both the industrial and service sectors, are state-controlled. This may lead to corruption and inefficiency, as subsidies can and are used to prop up businesses which may otherwise be unable to compete. With competition comes innovation, which is essential to maintain relevance in an increasingly high-tech, knowledge-based economy. A whopping 50% of total industry in China is state-controlled. Number 2. Reform. China currently finds itself in the rather awkward position of having a somewhat free market economy while at the same time being a socialist state. 10. As a result, they have a very big domestic challenge ahead of them as they try to keep their economy free and competitive globally in order to generate revenue to improve the country overall and maintain a socialist state domestically. Number 1. Military issues. Although China has invested heavily in its military, and it is growing, they are still behind the most powerful militaries in the world in terms of equipment and training. It takes a great deal of money to equip and train a military of China's size. Equally important is the lack of combat experience, as China hasn't engaged in combat with a foreign enemy since Vietnam in 1979. The lack of experience in comparison to countries such as the US, UK, and Russia places China at a disadvantage.